Okay, now don't confuse me with facts right now. And commissioners, we have Christina online also, so,
And Carol.
and Carol, and we have Jason involved with item number 2.
Yes.
How come I don't have that?
Because you're seeing my screen. We'll switch right now.
Okay.
I noticed my name is misspelled, but that's okay.
Oh, no, let's fix it. It's PH. Sorry, I didn't catch that. In Stevens, it's PH.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so we're good now? Can I go? Not yet?
No, not yet.
You guys think this is easy sitting up here between IT and Nicole?
Oh, quit complaining.
You know what? And the problem is I don't have a clue what I'm doing, so. But you're right, Paul. I need to quit complaining. And IT is working hard to make this happen, so.
Are these meetings recorded?
Yes, sir.
Yes, they are.
All right. Are they made available to the public, correct?
Yes, they are live streamed. So we are live
Okay.
right
Fantastic.
about now. Okay, we're good. We're live.
Okay. I am about to open the planning commission meeting for Tuesday, June 9th at 2020. I will call this meeting in order at 6:05 PM.
Would you like roll call?
Yes, please.
Commissioner St. Martin? Paul St. Martin, can you hear us? You might be muted.
Who?
Commissioner St. Martin?
Yes, here.
Thank you. Commissioner Colindres?
Here.
Vice Chair Stevens?
Here.
Chairman Tinker?
Yes.
Oh, Commissioner Smith, I'm sorry. I skipped over your name.
Here.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask everybody to stand, and I'm going to ask Commissioner St. Martin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you, Paul. Begin.
You might be muted. You may have to start.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the
States of
United
America,
States of America, and
to the republic for which it stands,
which is
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
for
Thank you. Be seated. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm going to ask for the approval or adjustments to the agenda. I guess there is none. Do we have a conflict of interest? Huh? Christina?
I'm sorry, I was muted. No, there are no adjustments to the agenda.
Okay, do we have a conflict of interest disclosure? You know, are all these people hearing me?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so we don't.
Yes.
We don't have that problem, and especially Nathan, you know. Okay, one of the things that we're gonna do is a public comment, which is not on the agenda, and this is gonna be a variation of what we've had in the past, is that due to the circumstances, we are encouraging members of the public to maintain participation in our meetings by submitting public comments via email or by teleconferencing in for phone comments in front of the agenda. Are there any requests to speak?
I have 2 attendees. I do have a phone call attendee, so I'm going to have them unmuted and see if they have a public comment and on which item. Can you unmute that for me, Corey?
Okay, we have 2 phone calls.
They are muted. Can you hear us? Do you have a public comment this evening? I don't see the phone icon saying they're unmuted. Caller, can you hear us? Do you have a public comment this evening? Attendee with the last 4 of 7089, do you have a public comment this evening? Okay, we'll move on. We'll check in later in the agenda.
Need that here. Okay, one of the things that I talked with Nicole I'm going to do is before we get into the agenda package, is I wanted the public to understand that they can contact their comments to Nicole W. at beaumontca.gov, or they can call the phone number of 888-788-0099 to get on the website. We want to encourage the public to involve with this. We realize it's cumbersome and it's somewhat trying, but please, if I was going to do this, I would go to Nicole W. at beaumontca.gov and send my comments to her. That will make sure that they get into the agenda and we're taken care of. Okay, at this point, we're going to go into the regular agenda. And the first item is the approval of the minutes from May 12th meeting, 2002. I'm going to go down and ask the members if they have any comments. I'm going to start with Chairman or Vice Chairman Stevens.
Nothing at this time on that item for the minutes.
Commissioner Colindrez,
No comment.
Commissioner Smith,
No comments.
and Commissioner St. Martin. Paul.
No comments.
Okay, then at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting of May 12th, 2020. And I will start with Commissioner St. Martin.
Move to approve the minutes from the March 10th meeting.
May 12th meeting, Paul.
May 12th meeting, sorry.
Okay, Vice Chairman Stevens.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, I have a first and a second to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of May 12th, 2020.
And I'll do roll call. Commissioner St. Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Colindres?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Stevens?
Yes.
Chairman Tinker?
Yes. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda tonight is the consideration of a request for a 1-year extension of time for a tentative parcel map 34990, south side of Oak Valley Parkway, east of Interstate 10. And at this time, I'm going to ask staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Tinker. Christina Taylor, Community Development Director. This evening before you for your consideration is a request for a 1-year extension of time for tentative parcel map 34990. This project is located on the, I'm sorry, give me one moment here. I'm having a technical difficulty. Sorry about that, guys. This project is located on the south side of Oak Valley Parkway, just east of Interstate 10. The city council approved this parcel map originally in 2007 for a 2-year period, and subsequently approved a series of extensions that extended the map until 2010. As you are all familiar, there were bills that came out of the California Assembly and Senate that provided an additional 7 years worth of extensions for maps. And that extended this until 2017. City Council, after that, had approved 2 additional 1-year extensions, which resulted in this map expiring June 5th, 2020. However, the applicant did get his request for extension in a timely fashion, so we're hearing the extension request this evening. The Subdivision Map Act does allow the subdivider to request 6 additional 1-year extensions beyond the initial approvals. The applicant is currently requesting their 5th 1-year extension. If it's approved this evening, the map will then expire on June 5th, 2021, with 1 additional extension possible. Just of note, this map is a financing and conveyance map. Any development that would occur on this property will require a plot plan approval by the Planning Commission prior to any type of construction taking place. Staff's recommendation at this time is for the commission to hold a public hearing and forward a recommendation of approval to City Council for a 1-year extension of time for tentative parcel map 34990. Staff is available if you have any questions, and the applicant's representative is also available on the line.
Thank you. I'm going to ask staff, the commissioners, each one for a comment. I'm going to start with Commissioner St. Martin.
No, I have no comments on this issue. You said there's another automatic after this 1 year?
It won't be automatic. It will have to come back as a request to the commission, but there is 1 additional available after this.
Okay, and then what happens?
So if the map is not final, at that point, then it reverts to dirt, back to just undivided land. So the applicant is on the line. I don't know if he can speak to any plans, if you're curious as to what their intent is, but that would be what would happen. If it's not finalized after the final extension, it would go away.
Yeah, I have no problem with this extension, but I would be interested in hearing if there are any plans for the near future in that area. Because believe it or not, that's just down the street from where I live. So it would be a nice addition to the area.
Agreed.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask Commissioner Smith. Do you have comments, questions?
I would just have the same question if this is a finance map, if the final map has been submitted to the city yet.
Christina?
I'm actually able to look that up if you give me just a moment, or the applicant may be able to answer it quicker than I am. If it has been submitted, it has not come through planning yet for a final sign off.
Okay.
Commissioner Galadras?
No comment at this time.
Vice Chairman Stevens?
No comments.
Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to close your comments and I'm going to open the public hearing. And we have the responsible party here. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing at whatever time I have.
6:15. It should be on your computer.
Well, where's it?
This computer over here.
6:15 p.m. I opened the public hearing on 34990. And at this time, I'd encourage Jason, are you on there?
I don't think he's been let through yet. Jason Cam.
Can you hear me?
Jason, you're there?
I am.
Okay, I've opened a public hearing, and this way the commissioners, they ask their questions they want. What I will do is I'm gonna ask the commissioners in line to ask you questions, and you can respond to them. Commissioner Stevens.
He's been listening, so he's been able to follow the conversation.
The one question is, and this may actually be towards staff, but is there plans for the entire development, or can this be then, when the plot plans come in, what happens if only some of it is going to be developed in the next year or two? What happens to the rest of the development? Does that go back to dirt and then would have to go through the process again? Or is there plans to develop the entire area?
Okay, Jason, I think you can answer him. You know, you heard the question. Is this?
We have obviously economic factors and market factors do have something to do with this. We've been working on what portions could be developed initially. Obviously, recent events have thrown a little bit of wrench into that. So I know Christina was looking, but to the best of my knowledge, we have not submitted for the final map yet. And we are working on things that can be done for portions to more than portions of the property, subject to market conditions.
Yeah, and Commissioner, staff would allow a development to fold out in phases. And that, of course, would also come to the Planning Commission for approval, as any project building from dirt up is required approval by this body.
So as long as the developer starts a portion of the project, then that sort of can extend the rest of the dirt, essentially? Is that what I'm understanding?
No, the map will still have to be final.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Carol. If I'd just like to add on to that, is that if they do record it in phases, there are certain requirements that they have to meet in order to record additional phases. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it locks in. They do have certain requirements that could relate to spending a certain amount on infrastructure improvements or filing the dashes in a certain time period, or the portion that's not recorded could revert back to unentitled property.
Understand. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Stevens, did that answer your questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get them answered before I move on to Commissioner Calandres.
No questions.
Commissioner Smith. Nathan.
Still no questions.
Huh?
Still no questions. My question was answered.
Okay, Commissioner St. Martin.
Yeah, my questions were answered with Commissioner Stevens'
Okay,
request.
so at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing.
I'm gonna actually, before you close
Oh, wait a
it, I'm
minute.
just gonna check in with this caller and see if we can get them in. I just wanna make sure they don't have a comment on this
Okay,
item.
so we're waiting for a public comment.
Corey, can we unmute that other one? It is unmuted. Attendee with the last four of 7089, if you can hear us, if you have a public comment, you can speak now. If you're, looks like you are unmuted.
No, at this time, I'm just listening to your board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Are we good? Okay, at this point, we're gonna close the public hearing on parcel map, tentative parcel map 34990. And I'm closing that meeting at 6:20 PM. At this point, I'm gonna call for a motion. And now, remember what I said earlier, if I call your name, that doesn't mean that you have to make the motion. I'm just going down the roll call. So I'm gonna start with Commissioner St. Martin to start the beginning.
Yeah, move to approve a 1-year extension of time for tentative parcel map 34990.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner St. Martin, and I'm gonna go to Vice Chairman Stevens.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the tentative parcel map 34990.
Commissioner St. Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Calindres, Commissioner Calindres,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Stevens,
Yes.
Chairman Tinker.
Yes. Okay, so that's moved and approved. Okay, next item we're gonna move to is item 3, consideration of the proposed addition of chapter 8.55, regulation of the shopping carts to the City of Beaumont Municipal Code. And what we're gonna do right now is, we're gonna either hold a public hearing, but we're gonna listen to the staff report. Christina, this one's all yours.
Thank you, Chairman Tinker. Commissioners, before you tonight, for your consideration is the addition of a new chapter to the Beaumont Municipal Code. This chapter is intended to regulate shopping carts within the city. So many retail establishments provide shopping carts for customer convenience. Oftentimes, though, we see these shopping carts removed from businesses and left abandoned, either in the public right-of-way or on private property throughout the city. They do constitute a public nuisance. On occasion, they can pose a potential hazard. It requires staff time to collect these carts. They typically have to be stored on city property somewhere while staff attempts to make contact with whatever business is the owner of the cart, so it can be arranged to be picked up. And that is if the carts have identification on them. On February 4th this year, citing these above issues, staff requested direction from council regarding preparing a shopping cart ordinance. Council did direct staff to proceed with preparing the ordinance. And after researching how other cities within the Inland Empire address these shopping cart issues, you have the resulting ordinance or proposed ordinance before you tonight for your consideration. So the sections that we have are listed in the staff report, but for those that are listening, they include declaration of a public nuisance, definitions of terms that would be contained within the ordinance, the primary focus of the ordinance, which is the cart containment and retrieval plan, the process or the plan submission and approval process, and then the penalties for failing to submit or implement the plan, the appeal process, and then some enforcement terms and processes. So each of these sections serves a purpose in addressing the city's needs while also providing a clear path for business operators to obtain and maintain compliance with this ordinance. As I said, the crux of the ordinance revolves around the cart containment and retrieval plan. The goals of the containment plan section are to establish requirements for cart identification, prevention measures, which would, ideally prevent carts from being removed from a shopping center or from a location, and then the mandatory cart retrieval process. This ordinance also provides an opportunity for businesses located within the same shopping center to collaborate on a plan. So if we have multiple businesses in a center and there are multiple, they each have their own type of shopping carts, they can work together to formulate one plan and submit together and implement together instead of having to go individually. And that will help us ensure that all of the shopping center businesses would be sort of on the same page with how things are done. The plan will be, the shopping cart containment plan will be reviewed administratively by planning staff and would either be approved or denied within 30 days. The ordinance also provides opportunities for modification of a plan if site circumstances change, new businesses come in, businesses leave, anything like that, new construction. And it does require an annual review and recertification of a plan. So this would be the opportunity for staff to talk with code enforcement or other city staff that might be out and see issues, talk to the business and monitor or see what type of activity it's had related to the shopping carts, and then determine if the plan that was submitted is adequate and if it is being followed. The one thing that this ordinance does do is require existing retail establishments that have shopping carts to submit a plan for review within 60 days of adoption of this ordinance by council. Staff, meaning Carol and I, will be reaching out to these individual businesses that fit the criteria and work with them to establish compliance and let them know what all the city is doing. And there are some procedures, as I said, in the ordinance for dealing with non-compliance. These guidelines are addressed in both this chapter, and they also refer to other appeal and abatement procedures in other chapters of the existing municipal code. So it's consistent with throughout the code. There will be a fee established for review and approval of the cart containment plan. Staff is studying that, and the fee will have to be presented at city council and approved by city council prior to implementation. And of note, the fee cannot exceed the anticipated cost of staff time necessary to complete the work. So we anticipate it probably would be 2 to 3 hours worth of time that we would spend all together looking at it. At this time, staff is recommending that the commission hold a public hearing and forward to city council a recommendation of approval of chapter 8.55, regulation of shopping carts. I'm available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to go down and ask the commissioners. I'm going to start with Commissioner St. Martin.
Yeah, Christina, what happens if we don't collect them up? How does the individual business know that one of their carts is affecting, our community? How are they being told? Do we have someone just driving around saying you have a cart at 4th and 4th and whatever street?
So,
And
mhm.
go ahead.
Oh, so the idea is for city staff to not have to spend time doing this. So in the shopping cart containment plan, there is a section that specifies the store or the shopping center has to have a mandatory cart retrieval operation. So basically, the business owner has to contract with a qualified cart retrieval service that will find the carts that are removed from the premises and retrieve them and return them to the store. And there's some provisions in there as far as timing goes. There's also the opportunity in there if code enforcement or someone sees the cart, they can make contact with the business or with the cart retrieval service and then let them know, here's a cart, you guys need to come get it. And I believe it is within 24 hours of receiving the notification that the carts are to be retrieved.
Yeah, I know we can't afford to send our personnel out there, but if we have members of the Beaumont maintenance department or even code enforcement, if they are driving around and they see one of these carts, they will make contact with the business.
Yes, sir. And if it is a hazard, say the cart is in the middle of the street or it's in the middle of the public right of way or the walkway somehow, there's a provision in here that staff can remedy the hazard immediately, and we can recover. I believe there's an administrative citation fee that can be issued, but we can also just have them make contact and then retrieve the cart.
Okay, yeah, because those are very expensive items to these businesses. So I can't believe that they would leave them out there knowing that they're there. They would retrieve them if they knew.
Yes,
So we got to have some kind of notification.
agreed.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Okay, and I'm going to go to Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, so the outreach program on this would be between you and Carol reaching out to individual business owners?
Yes, so we have in the ordinance, this applies to businesses that have 10 or more shopping carts. So typically your grocery stores, Walmarts, things like that. I will tell you that the new grocery outlet that's coming in to the city right now hasn't quite opened, but it's getting very close. They've already complied. They actually put in cart containment, and I believe have the wheel lock system that they're using and all of the proper cart identification. A lot of the cities that they're already in have these ordinances in place. So the outreach that we have to do at this point will be geared towards other businesses that are already existing in the city. And staff understands that this is probably going to be a shock to some of them. But as the city is growing and as more development is coming in, we need to make sure that we have mechanisms like this in place to help staff and to help the businesses, minimize costs and retain their property on their site. So we will be reaching out to all of those.
I see Carol has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, for new projects coming in that have uses that are going to utilize shopping carts, we will be conditioning them to comply with this as well. So that'll be a comment as part of their initial submittal. So they'll see that. You'll see those conditions start coming through on, future projects that are that come before the commission. So, we're trying to, hit the existing ones, but we will be conditioning new projects to comply, including showing where their corrals are located, because that does have impacts on parking that, could kind of, lower parking counts and things like that. So staff is going to be looking at this closely for all new projects as well.
Okay. Is this ordinance based on a model ordinance that's on another city or municipality?
We looked at many cities in the Inland Empire and picked some pieces from several different ordinances. But yes, you probably, if you were to look around, would see a few cities with something that looked very similar to this.
Okay. So with a lot of the big national retailers and a 60-day deadline to comply, in other municipalities, is this something that's generally done on a local store level? Or is this something that's going to have to go to Walmart and Home Depot corporate in order to comply?
So I'm not sure yet with the big corporate stores how that would go. And again, we will work with them if this is going to take more than 60 days. We understand the corporate structure versus if this is someone that's more local and has more control. So understanding that could be an issue. We're happy to work with them. The goal here really is not to penalize businesses whatsoever. It's to help them retain their carts and help minimize our staff time from having to spend time retrieving carts and returning them.
Okay, so for smaller local businesses, so long as they're working in good faith to comply and move forward with this, then the city's not looking to fine.
No. This is so new right now. I, in good conscience, could not do that. So we just want to make contact and make sure everybody is aware of what's going on. We will work with our businesses that are here in town to make sure, we're reasonable. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I want to know how you found out that Carol was waving her hand. I didn't see it. Anyway, Commissioner Collins-Rass?
Yeah, I had a few questions. I was reading the ordinance, and it says that we're supposed to be, taking inventory of the carts. If, let's say, a business adds another 50 carts because of business, do they have to update their inventory count to us, or how does that work?
So ideally, we would like that because they are supposed to provide the information on how many carts they would have. Whether or not they did that immediately or they did that, at the time of their annual review, I don't think that we got that specific in the ordinance. Carol, I don't know if you have any anything you want to add on that part?
I would like to see it, because if they were adding 50 new carts, they're going to have places for those carts to be stored, and typically that's in the parking lot. So again, I go back to, the corrals and how they're addressing that. Another thing is I've worked on many of these kind of containment plans in other jurisdictions that I've worked for, and a lot of times we tied them to their business license renewal. This does have an annual renewal, so it might be something where if they have any changes, that they would provide those prior to applying for their business license renewal. So might be where Christina and I are doing outreach in March or April, or a couple months before the business licenses would need to be renewed.
And if commission would like to see something like that added into the ordinance, we can make that adjustment prior to taking the ordinance to council. So we can add that in between now and when it's scheduled.
Yeah, I think if anything we could add, obviously they're just adding like 1 or 2 carts, that wouldn't be it, but something major, maybe like adding a good amount of carts, then something that they would have to submit or update us so that we would know.
Okay.
Also, let's say, do we have something in place as far as, let's say we have a consecutive business, their carts are always out on the streets and they're the only ones that we see. Let's say shop A, their carts are always out in the streets. Is there anything that we could do because we constantly see their shopping carts and not the other businesses?
So they would then be subject to either non-renewal of the cart plan, and they would have to submit a new cart plan, or if it became excessive and it was something that was constantly brought to our attention, they could be subject to administrative fines if they don't remedy the issue.
Right, and that's discussed in 8.55.100 for abatement. So it does talk about applicable fees or fines that we can impose. The ordinance is really trying to make the businesses accountable for their carts. So providing, wheel lock systems or other ways to prevent them from being taken off the property, is in their best interest, because it is an asset. They are expensive, and they do want to keep them. It's just making the businesses more responsible for them.
Okay. And the last question I had, as the say for a smaller, I know that it says 10 shopping carts, but I was looking at the laundromat area. I know that laundromats don't usually tend to have signage on their carts. And let's say they do have over 10 carts. Are we having them, is it a mandatory thing for them to add new signages? I'm not sure. Just because cost and whatnot will be for the owners.
I'll jump in on that. I don't think the issue is with the laundry carts so much. I think it's people taking shopping carts off of commercial properties to transport goods, or transient populations using them to transport their belongings. So I don't know if it's an issue in Beaumont with people using laundry baskets to transport materials off site. But
yeah, Commissioner, typically what we see are just the shopping carts. Code enforcement, since they've been in my department in community development, has been keeping track and has their pictures and all of the stuff that they have when they go to remedy. And even before that, some of the other maintenance staff has stuff. And I've not once in the last few years worth of cart pictures I've seen a laundry cart in the mix. It is definitely always shopping carts.
Yeah, and that was my question, because it's on the ordinance on letter F. Laundry cart means basket, which I didn't know if you guys were gonna go and outreach with them and then have them have to put new signage that they possibly didn't even know they needed or something like that.
Did you get your questions answered? Did we lose Christina? Christina?
Commissioner Colindres, did we address yours, or do you want us to add or
No, I would like,
anything specific in there?
I think he had some questions and I'm not sure the answer was there.
Yeah, I think you guys answered them.
Okay, when it comes, if you're concerned about the laundromats, again, if there's less than 10, it's not gonna be a concern either. And again, I'll reiterate, the goal of this is not to create a burden for the businesses. It is to make sure that they can retain their carts on site. So if providing signage is going to be, burdensome in any regard, we can work with them and find some way for them to identify their carts and meet the intent of what the ordinance is speaking to without having to go through a great expense.
Okay.
Okay, I see that now. The new ordinance is titled shopping cart, so I was thinking it was exempt, but I do see what you're looking at for coin-operated laundry or dry cleaning establishment. Christina, would we want to just leave that or leave that as is, or put some language, or as approved by the community development director?
Sure, we can do any of that. I'll defer to the commission as to what their recommendation would be. If you'd like it removed, if you'd like it modified, or if you're comfortable with Carol or I making the determination at the staff level, if the carts are properly identified, we can include that language in here as well.
Yeah, you could add the verbiage where that you guys could decide if they need to have signage or what they need to do.
Okay. Well, we can make that adjustment if that's the commission's direction at the time that you provide your recommendation.
Okay, so Commissioner Colindres, is your recommendation that the planning or this planning staff make those determinations?
Yes.
Okay. And Christina and Carol, you guys you're understanding what he's saying?
Yes, so my understanding is when it comes to reviewing the cart plan, we're going to review the cart identification and make sure that it meets the intent of what the ordinance is requiring. So it gives them some latitude as to what type of identification they're going to want to put on their cart.
Okay.
I think that gives the applicant some flexibility in figuring out what will work for them without being overly financially cumbersome.
Commissioner Colindres, are you okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I'm going to move on to Commissioner Vice Chairman Stevens for any comments.
Yeah, I have a couple as well that haven't been answered yet. One is, what about the neighboring carts from like Albertsons or Hobby Lobby in the city of Banning? If those carts end up in the city of Beaumont and code enforcement or Public Works picks them up, how are those fees addressed? Are they now double fined because we're picking them up and the city of Banning has their own shopping cart ordinance? How does that work?
Yeah, we can't enforce our ordinance on anything in the city of Banning.
Mm-hmm.
So we would not be able to require them to do any of these things. If we do pick up carts that make their way over, staff would then would still have to contact that applicant or that business owner of that store and let them know we have a cart and that they would pick it up.
Okay, so it's whatever our policies and fines are that for our carts or our carts picked up within the city boundaries. It doesn't matter if they're owned by other cities, they're just bound by our rules.
So businesses within the city of Beaumont are bound by our rules. If it's a business that's outside of the city boundaries, we can't bind them to our rules. So we would still have to address those from a code enforcement standpoint.
Okay.
Or street staff or whoever picks them,
Yeah.
whoever would be out to pick them up.
Correct. And under procedures and abatement, item G or section G, for disposal for unclaimed carts, I just, that word is so harsh to me, but, can they be recycled? Instead of adding to a landfill, does proper disposal mean recycled and that money go into the program for cost, reimbursement and that sort of thing?
I suppose we could add that in. I think typically these would be sold. I know they're quite expensive. I've not heard from other cities that I've worked with ever that a cart just being like thrown away unless it was totally wrecked. But even at that point, there's still some value in them. They're several $100s per cart. But we can write that in. I know our solid waste manager in the city and the recycling program that we have would probably appreciate that quite a bit. So we can put some language in there if it pleases the commission to change or otherwise disposed of to some sort of verbiage that includes recycling instead of otherwise disposed.
Right, just to exhaust that effort. I know as when the city of Banning did an ordinance on shopping carts, a couple things came up with that a person cannot, like an average person, cannot bring a cart in to be recycled. The recycling center should reject that, especially if it's in good condition. But if something's like a cart is totaled or crushed or whatever, and it's basically scrap, that can still be recycled. But I would imagine a government entity trying to dispose of it through a recycling method should be taken into consideration, either through waste management or another recycling means.
Yeah, I mean I think that's perfectly reasonable request. We can, and that would be on the part of the city. So if a cart was never claimed by anyone after all the proper procedures have been followed, then that would be something that we would handle anyway. So we can include that, that it may be sold. I think we'd say the shopping cart may be sold, period, and then recycling should be considered as the first method of disposal before anything else, is considered. So we'll come up with some language like that if you're good with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
The other one, what is the liability on the city for impounded carts? If there's 50 carts building up, and where are they going to be stored? Are they secured for theft, damage? If one of them gets damaged, just accidentally or whatever, what's our policy on, or what's our liability on that?
So, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to that from a legal standpoint. What I can tell you is the city attorney's office has reviewed this ordinance, and I think that we would treat this just like any other abandoned property that we would pick up in the city, which, we do all the time. It's stored at one of the city locations. I use the term city yard for lack of a better term. And those are secured. So the property would be in there, not easily accessible to the public. But I kind of look at it from the standpoint of the goal is to not have the city staff picking this up anyway. The contracted cart retrieval service ideally will get these, and we will have less and less of these that we have to worry about. So in this ordinance, the goal is to sort of reduce the city's liability or interaction with these carts in general.
Right. So sorry, just a few more here. On the billing rates, I understand that the billing is going to go towards to city council for approval. And is there going to be just a standard flat fee, or is it based on like an ISF where they're charged actual time for the retrieval and billing and finding of that cart?
So for the retrieval of the cart, there's no, the fee is established. So if you look at right above disposal, it talks about fines. And so the fee for the service of impounding the shopping carts is a $50 fine. That's established in the administrative citations already. So that's standard across the board in the city. So code enforcement or whoever, when they issue an administrative citation for something like this, it's that flat fee. So that is not going to be, that won't be changed. That's already established. The fee that we were speaking of earlier that would have to be adopted is for reviewing the cart retrieval plan. So this is something that staff does not currently do because we don't have this requirement. So it will be something that would be added into typical project review. And I think we anticipate it will take a couple hours to review it. So we would establish the rate that covers that couple hours of time for reviewing that plan. So two different fees that are, or two different types of fees that are referenced in the ordinance.
Okay, and there's the $50 imposed upon each owner of shopping cart for each occurrence in excess of 3 during a specified 6-month period. That's that section F.
Yes, that's the fines for that. If city council, and E above that where it says recovery of costs, if city council chooses to provide, like if they want to establish a fee for cost recovery, that's what E is referencing. It says city council may provide by resolution for the recovery of the actual cost in providing the service of impounding shopping carts. Right now we don't. It would just be an administrative citation. So council would then have to determine if they wanted to go above and beyond that.
Okay, so it won't be like a flat rate, but an actual cost for the retrieval.
Right now it's a flat rate. If council chose to go above and beyond, it could then be the cost of recovery, whatever that would be, which would be more than the $50. But as of right now, we administrative citation that way.
Okay, and then on the last one on that section F for the fines, so is there? So the company gets notified that the ordinance is going into place. What if they have 15 carts out there that they don't know, and now they have a fine, for the occurrence of 3, in excess of 3 during a specified 6-month period. So,
I think we will treat that, our goal is not to go out and fine everybody. So I think we would treat this much like we would the compliance with that 60-day window that we would like to see people in compliance. There's going to be a grace period here. We understand this is new. This is new for us. This is new for you guys. It's going to be new going to council. It's going to be new for the businesses in town. So, the intent is this is not intended to be punitive. So we're not looking for, I can tell you there's a lot of shopping carts in the yard right now. A couple weeks ago, I got a bunch of pictures from code enforcement of what's in there. And they're working, trying to get, contact with the cart owners. We go through this a lot. And again, I don't want to go and fine everybody for these carts. There's going to be a window of grace period. We'd like everybody to just be in compliant. I don't want to have to deal with the administrative citation process because that ultimately comes back to me anyway to have to deal with. So,
and then that was part of my notes, is that should there be a grace period, for the first 6 months or whatever, on the implementation of this. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That is all. Thank you for your time.
So Commissioner Stevens, you got all your questions answered?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, I'm going to open a public hearing on this item at 6:55 p.m. I will open the public hearing on proposed addition to Chapter 8.55 regulation of shopping carts. And do I have any?
I have no new attendees and no written comments via email.
Okay, at this point in time, we have no new attendees and no written comments regarding this ordinance. So at 8:56 or 6:56 PM, I will close the public hearing. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion, and I'm going to start with Commissioner St. Martin.
Yes, move to approve consideration of the proposed addition of Chapter 855 regulation to the municipal code.
Okay, Commissioner Calandras.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the addition of Chapter 8.55 regulation of shopping carts to Beaumont City Code.
Commissioner St. Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Calindris?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Stevens?
Yes.
Chairman Tinker?
Yes. Okay, so this is passed. This motion to approve the proposed addition 8.55 regulation of shopping carts. And now, I'm going to turn this over to the Community Development Director for her comments.
Thank you, commissioners. Appreciate all of your work this evening, doing this remotely still. I have just a couple of comments tonight for you guys. First thing is I emailed out to each of you an updated project status report and community development activity report. So this one is updated as of today, and it will be also going to City Council for their information at their next meeting next Tuesday. So if you have any questions on any of the projects on there or on any of the activities that the Community Development Department has going on, feel free to let Carol or I know, and we're happy to answer any questions for you about that. Another piece of information for you guys, and this will be helpful if anybody in the community asks you what's going on with certain projects. We are starting to load project information onto the planning department webpage on the city's website. So we have a couple of big projects that are kicking off and that are going to be making their way towards you guys in City Council at the end of the year or early next year. We have an item that's today that will be coming to you guys in the next month or so for your approval. And we've put up site plans and environmental documents and things like that on the website. And we're going to continue to grow that project listing and the project information on the planning department's page. So again, if you have any questions that come up from the public, you can always refer them to us, but we're trying to get that page as loaded as possible with as much information for the public as we can put out there. Speaking of projects, we conducted a scoping meeting for the Potrero Logistics Center, which is going to be located at Potrero and north of 4th Street, south of the 60. And so that was a scoping meeting for preparation of the Environmental Impact Report, EIR. And that information is on the city's website now. If you guys would like to look at it, there's a site plan on there, but again, there will be, that will be coming to you guys later on in the year. Anticipate very late fall for your consideration. So all of that information is there, and we're working to put more information up on the website. And then last of all, we had a kickoff for a parking strategies study that wrote a grant for to SCAG, and we won the grant. And so we're going to be looking at some ideas to address parking in the downtown area, but also citywide. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. We will be holding stakeholder meetings and doing some public outreach. And this will include businesses and the chamber, as well as residents and there'll be some information probably in the next couple weeks that will be up on the planning department page for that as well. If you have any ideas, if there's any stakeholders in the community you would like us to reach out to specifically, please email Carol or I and let us know, or give us a call, and we'll make sure that they are included in this process. I'm very excited about this because I think this is going to give us some tools to help our businesses in the downtown in particular, and I think it'll be exciting. So with that, that's all I have for this evening.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna open this up, commissioners. If you have questions for Christina, I'm gonna go right down the line with Vice Chairman Stevens.
No,
No
questions
questions.
at this time?
You do or do not have questions for Christina? Vice Chair?
I'm sorry, were you talking to me? This is Patrick Stevens.
Yeah, I was offering you the opportunity to talk to Christina if you had any questions.
No questions at this time, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Collins,
No questions.
Commissioner Smith.
Any update on the general plan?
Yeah, see, I knew Nathan couldn't pass this up.
Yes, we do have an update on the general plan. So I anticipate that probably in the next 4 to 5 weeks, we should have draft documents out for review. So
Excellent.
we are nearing the very end of this. Carol and I have spent long hours reviewing the document itself, which I think is probably 98% complete, and the environmental impact report document as well. We've read through more than half of the sections in that. And the traffic modeling, there was a slight revision that we did to include the punch through of 2nd Street through to Pennsylvania. So they updated the model on that, and it actually helped us out significantly with our VMT. So they're updating traffic, which is of course linked to air and noise and greenhouse gas sections, and then those will be wrapped up. And we've already been through that once, so we'll just be looking at the reviews on, or the changes on that, and then I think the document will be ready to be finalized up, and we should have a draft out for public review. It will be a 45-day review period on that. So my hope is that it will be end of July, we'll be ready to put that up on the website and put that out on the street.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, commissioners, the only question I have is if you have any comments about how we might be able to do this meeting better using teleconference, please send your comments to Nicole, because this is somewhat new for us. So if there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, I'm going to close this meeting at 7:04 p.m.
Good job.
See you next time, thank you.
Thank you.